Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday for today's Vocal Feminization workshop. I'm Rachel. I'm a vocal feminization coach and I'm the head coach over at the Trans Academy. You can find out more about me and the lessons that Jess does over at transvoice.com. We do one-on-ones, consultations, all sorts of stuff to help you to get to where you want to be. So for me, I've been teaching for the last 3 years and voice was a huge problem for me. It put me off from transitioning for years. My voice originally was, right way down here. It was the first one to drop. Amongst my friends, I thought there's no way that I'm going to be able to get to where I want to be with voice, but there's so much that we can do. There's so much flexibility. I hope you find today helpful. We're going to take a look at getting some different volunteers up to work through different voice problems, wherever they may be in their journey. But we're also going to go through some safety and some common terms that we'll be using to help to address these different problems that people have. So one thing that I always like to do as well is to say a quick show of hands. I see a lot of new faces. How many people are here for the first time today? Awesome. Great. Love to see it. Who's maybe been to one of these, the streams on the Discord or the Twitch, but hasn't been in person before? A couple of you. Awesome. I also see a few regulars who's been here a couple of times already. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. So some quick ground rules. Just for while we're going on with the session, please do keep conversation in the stands to a minimum. If you would like to have a conversation, please do take it to the courtyard or elsewhere, just because it can get really loud when you're in amongst the people. As well, if you do want to come up on stage and volunteer, there are a few little settings that I would like you to change so that we can hear all of your wonderful voice. What you'll need to do is go to settings, go to the sound settings for me, and then I want you to make sure that noise suppression is turned off, that you're on push to talk, and that your mic activation threshold is all the way down. Okie doke, and that'll mean that we can hear everything that you're saying for us today. So, I also want to get a quick hello from everybody. Hi, everyone. Can I get a quick hello in a 3, 2, 1? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi, all. Welcome. So let's go through some quick stuff on safety. First of all, we'll try and be brief as we can, but it's super important, especially with new people coming in all the time. The main thing is that nothing that we do in voice in practice, or indeed when you're using your voice out there in the world, should hurt, okay? If you've got any sort of pain, we need to stop what you're doing and take a look at what went wrong. Maybe you're pushing too high with your pitch, maybe you're going too heavy with vocal weight, or maybe you're just squeezing some muscles that you shouldn't have been squeezing. In any case, if you feel any sort of pain, give it a rest for the day to be safe rather than sorry and come back to it another day. If you find that pain continues and it's a reoccurring thing, it's a really good idea to stop your practice and to maybe have a consultation with myself or Jess or Savvy on the server as well. And we'll all be happy to help you out, see what exactly is going wrong here. Okay. We're going to have lots of different volunteers at different various positions, different places within their vocal transition. And you might find that you're not able to do everything right out of the gate. This is A-okay. Lord knows that I didn't just start doing this and just end up with this voice. It took some work, and starting from a low place, it took a lot for me to be able to get to a comfortable position with my pitch up here. So please do feel free to mimic along with different exercises with your mic off. There will be different opportunities for you to go ahead and give an exercise a go as well throughout the lesson unmuted too. But as I say, if anything feels like we're pushing it, it's getting a little bit too hard, we don't want that. Another thing that we want to avoid is something called false vocal fold activation. So what is that? Well, if we take a little look at this here, on the screen, you should see a lovely diagram of the vocal tract, part of the vocal tract. This is our larynx, our voice box, and it's where the sound of our voice is originating from. Over here, we have the vocal folds. These are the things that are making the sound. Vocal folds, vocal cords, same difference, same thing. But above them, can we all see these ventricular folds up here? These ventricular folds are called the false vocal folds, and we don't want to be using them. They've got a very characteristic sound. It sounds kind of like a lot of effort or like a squeezing. It makes the voice sound quite turbulent and rough. We do not want this. I want to try and see if everyone can have a feel of this together. I want you all to give me kind of your best old person impression. On a count of 3, we're going to be like, hey, you kids. You can hear this kind of squeezing that we have going on here. I don't want you to push too hard. I want to be nice and comfortable, but I just want to give this a go. I'm going to count you all in on 3, 2, 1. And I want you all to give this a little bit of a go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, you kid. Can you try that? Yes. Perfect. Absolutely. Another way that we can experience this is like trying to imagine picking up something really heavy. So like that sort of squeezy feeling. It almost feels like the sides of my throat are kind of coming in a bit. This is no good. We want to avoid this. If you are having this happen when you are trying to get to a bright resonance or a higher pitch, it's no bueno. We should stop and reevaluate. A huge part of this is experimentation and listening to our bodies. Don't be afraid to try something new, but we should never just try and brute force something to make it happen, okay? It's never good. Don't force anything in voice. Just allow it to gradually come. Okie doke. So a few other things as well. If you find you've got any unintended change to the feeling or function of your voice, so things like you can't get as loud as you used to be able to, maybe your voice takes a lot more effort to use, maybe you can't get as quiet, as stably, maybe you find that your voice sounds like really hoarse all the time, or maybe it's like really shaky. All these things happening out of the blue are signs that something might be going wrong. And so again, stop what you're doing for the day. And if the issue continues, contact myself or Jess at transvoice.com or Savvy over on her server or through the Trans Academy server as well. And we'll be happy to help out. Okay. So some other little things as well. There are some things that can really help. If you, of those of us among us who are on spironolactone as an anti-androgen, listen up to this one. We really want to stay hydrated. I know it can be hard, but we want to really make sure that we get plenty of water into our system a good hour before we practice, okay? It takes a lot of time for the fluid to reach our vocal folds. When we drink water, it never actually touches the vocal folds directly. It goes down a different tube down the back called the esophagus. So it takes about an hour for that to really affect mucus production and all that good stuff in the right way for voice. Some things that can also help, a nice warm cup of tea can be fantastic. Try your best as well to minimize any sort of drinking of alcohol or smoking as well. Smoking is a really big one. And you don't get a free pass if you're vaping, I'm afraid, as well. I've done both in my time. I've been a right muppet with my vocal health in the past. And I can tell you for a fine fact that vaping kind of felt like it did more damage for me than smoking did. I'm not advocating smoking or either, but try and cut them down as best as we can to make sure that we aren't irritating the delicate tissues of our voice as well. Some other things as well, caffeine, try and bring that down to a minimum if we can. But apart from that, I think we're ready to rock and roll. I just want to get a quick show of hands if anybody has any sort of safety question. Nothing's too silly. Just to clear that up before we move on, if you can please raise your hand or jump if you're on desktop or use a little emoji. Anybody got any questions on safety? Hello, Skyle. Hello, what's your question?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I just completely forgot.
Sorry, can you repeat that? What was your question? Sorry.
So, how often would you recommend to practice? Is it? I heard in multiple places that just with a couple of minutes a day, but is that enough?
Yeah, well, I think that the question there for everyone who might not have heard is how much practice should we be doing? It really depends on what it is that we're trying to achieve. There are different stages in this journey. The first stage is when we are looking to get all the raw materials in place and the control that we need to be able to develop our voice. So that's us figuring out what's going on with pitch, being able to change our resonance and vocal weight as well, and being able to confidently know what these different things are. When you're practicing that, yeah, absolutely, 10, 15 minutes a day, perfect. When we're going into the second stage and trying to perfect our aesthetic and trying to bring everything together and feel what feels right to us, we can go a little bit more. We can go over anything up to 40 minutes in a practice session, but it all depends. If we are practicing flying too high to the sun, then and we're really pushing it at the most of what we can do, if you feel tired, you should stop. You know, if you're feeling like this is a lot of effort, oh my God, we should stop and maybe go back down a few steps. But, you know, for practice later on down the road in this third stage, when we're trying to use our voice more, make it be more us, make it be more natural, more automatic, we can be practicing all day. We can be using this voice as long as it feels comfortable and sustainable throughout the day. And this is actually what I'd advise. There is a huge, huge, huge difference that I see in my students for those who have made a decision just to commit to the sound, even though it might not be perfect, and use it throughout all of their interactions in a day, compared to those who are just doing it like maybe 10, 15 minutes every other day. It is what you put in, what you get out, but we need to just be aware of how we're practicing and why to be able to fully answer that question. So starting off 10, 15 minutes a day, but as you get better and more confident, we can start to really stretch that out until it becomes your voice all the time. Yeah, great question. Any other questions on safety from the crowd as well? Looking at the left-hand side here. Nope, I don't think I see anyone. Okay, cool beans. So let's get cracking and talk a little bit about some of the big 3 things that we're going to be changing inside of our voice. The first one, well, I've mentioned them already. The first one is pitch, all about how high or how low the voice is. And if we're exploring pitch, there's a really good little warm-up that we can do. These warm-ups are called SOVTEs, and it stands for Semi-Occluded Vocal Tract Exercise. There's tons of stuff online about this, and you can also find more information over on the first VOD that we did here at the Trance Academy. But they're a great way for us to be able to safely explore our range and begin to navigate where we can go. There's a really cool exercise that I absolutely love. It does take some practice to get used to it, but I find it so, so, so useful. And that is a lip trill. And I want to have everybody try this with me here. What we're going to do, first of all, is push our lips out. So they're big and kind of like a big fishy face. And then I want you to blow a gentle stream of air through your lips. We want it to be nice and consistent. Take a big breath in and allow that to come out. And I'm going to ask everyone to give this a go with me. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and all together. Beautiful. It's like 1,000 faraway motorbikes all starting up. That's perfect. Wonderful. So that's the start of it. What we want to do next, though, is try and get some voice in the mix. So we're going to start that movement off. Then we're just going to start to lightly hum. Keep that rate of air up, and it should be nice and consistent. It's going to sound like this. Now you can choose any pitch that feels comfortable for you to try this out, but let's try and have a target. Let's try and have a goal today. I want to see if we can all hit this pitch. Let's try and find it with an sound together. It's going to sound like this. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, everybody, hitting that pitch. Beautiful. The most placid collection of bees in the world. Perfect. You nailed it. Okay, now let's try and introduce that with the lip trill. It's going to sound like this. Notice I got the sound moving first, then just introduce that hum. And again, here we go. On the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Awesome work, everyone. Perfect. All right. So there's a few different ways we can do this. One of my favorite apps for everyone who is non-musically minded is Voice Tools. It's freely available on iOS and the Android store, and it's got some fantastic resources in there for us. It's got a pitch tracker. It's got a bunch of different tones that we can use, and that's what I'm using here on my phone to be able to generate this tone. A good way that we can start to explore pitch is by going on 10 seconds on each of these different notes from a C3 up to about a B3 or a C4 at the end of our target. For a lot of us, this won't be viable. If we are finding that we have to squeeze to get these high notes, it just falls apart. It's no good. We need to go a few steps down. Everyone will be different with this. But we can spend 10 seconds on each note, warming up our voice, going higher and higher. Well, let's have a few little goes with this here. I'm going to go over to this note next. And on the count of 3, I want us all to give this a go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Keep it up. Yes. Perfect. Great job, everyone. So we can start to go on 10 seconds for these different notes going higher and higher, but we can also be more dynamic. We can move around. Let's try going low to high, first of all. Not too far, but just a bit. And here we go. We're going to all give this a go together. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Good work. We're going to be a little bit braver on this next one, going a little higher up. Here we go. It's going to sound like this. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. And we want to keep that lovely softness in the voice. We don't want to be squeezing or pushing or getting mega loud. Now we're going to go even higher. And again, if you feel like you can't do this, don't worry, but let's give it a go. It's going to sound like this. Okie doke. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, and... Awesome. Perfect. Now there are a bunch of other sounds that we can use. We can do like an an a z, a vish, a r, a rolled r, all sorts of stuff, the lip trills. We can even get a straw and some water, but I do not advise this in VR. I have like entered the splash zone far too many times with expensive equipment, and I don't recommend it. So really, really good way to warm up, and that's pitch in a nutshell. One thing that we haven't talked about is registers. In that one, you heard me change my register a little bit. They're like different gears within the voice. And we have 3 of them that we're going to be using. We have our mode 0, or M0 for short. And this is kind of like a noise like the grudge. It's like a vocal fry register. It's going to sound like an ah. Okay. And I want everyone to have a go with this one. It's going to go 3, 2, 1, and gorgeous. Yeah. Wonderful. We don't use that very often, but it is really handy for if I'm going low in pitch and I can start to introduce a little bit of that, and it makes it sound like it's so difficult for my itty bitty vocal folds to go any lower. Really handy for giving an illusion of difficulty on those bottom notes and kind of a false bottom. Really, really good. We then have our M1. This is our regular speaking voice. For me, this is everything from like oh, all that range. We then have our M2, which is our high voice, our Mickey Mouse voice, our high note and take on me voice. And it's going to be like this. Okay, so let's try and give that a little go. I want to see if we can hit this note all together in our M2 on a nice old ooh sound. We're going to go ooh. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and
your mods or whatever.
Well done. Perfect. Awesome. Really, really lovely. Now this M2 is useful for a lot of different sounds. It's useful for laughing. It's useful for coughing. It's useful for sounding, oh my God, really excited. It's really handy. But we want to spend more of our time in the M1. The reason is, if we spend all of our time in the M2, it can be quite difficult to get a voice that feels authentic. We can experiment with it. It is a balance. Everyone's different with how much M2 they'd like to use and feel comfortable with. But I don't think it's the best idea to have all of our sound in here. Okay, it's going to be difficult for us to project, for us to be able to sound authentic. It's not the best. So those are our different registers. We've talked about pitch, and I had 2 other things that I was going to get to that I've mentioned. Let's see who is paying attention. Can I get a quick hand up from someone who knows another of these big 3 variables that we're going to be changing? Anybody brave that knows maybe one of them? Luna, hello. What is another one, please?
Vocal weight?
Vocal weight, absolutely. The amount of oomph and drive within the voice that we have closely related to volume, but not exactly the same thing. We can hear as a lot of buzziness. If we find that we've got a voice that's like this, that is nice and bright, it's in a higher pitch, but it feels kind of buzzy, vocal weight is going to be the thing that we want to change to be able to get more of a full and authentic sound. The reason this is a problem is that when we're down at lower pitches, we physically need a higher, heavier vocal weight to get that sound moving.
I need a heavy vocal weight to make this sound. With a light vocal weight, it's very hard
to be heard and very hard to maintain that sound. So a really nice way that we can get into a light vocal weight is to imagine a really cute puppy or a really cute kitten in our hands. It is adorable. It's so cute. And on the count of 3, I want us all to have this little animal imagined in our hands and to give a nice, soft, really nice and soft. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Absolutely. So soft, so cute. Great. Now I'm actually just throwing up on all of you, and it's terrible. There are chunks. There's vomit everywhere. It's the worst. I want you all to give me a nice please. Okay. 3, 2, 1, and Beautiful. Yes. You can feel it. It's heavy. It's buzzy. You might feel more vibrations. The sound is kind of buzzier as well. If we have like more of this heavy weight, this is where we're going to be. To soften out, it's going to be really, really helpful. It helps you to get a more fem-aesthetic, and it also helps to make high notes more attainable and more maintainable. It's going to make them easier. The final thing is resonance, which is a big old topic. I could spend 3 hours just talking about resonance by itself. But really, it's all about changing the size and dimensions of our throat, mouth, and lips. What happens is that when someone's exposed to tea, this space, R1, gets bigger. And we're going to undo that by learning how to raise our larynx and our tongue to make this space smaller. We describe resonance in terms of brightness and darkness. A really big space will make for a really dark sound, while it's a really small space will make for a really bright sound. So, for example,
Hello, this is a very big space, a very dark sound.
hello, this is a much smaller space, a brighter sound. As we go through them,
E.
E, E, E. You can hear that the bass kind of drops out. It becomes a little bit more glassy, more feminine sounding, and it's really, really powerful stuff. There are some great exercises to be able to explore that, but I'm not going to go in depth with them right now because, as I say, it's a whole topic, and I want to make sure that before giving you that exercise that you're all doing it right. So that's all of our fundamentals: pitch, resonance, and weight, and a little bit on registration in our pitch as well to know where we are with our voice. When we know how to master these and get them all in the right space into a sweet spot where we're bright enough, where our vocal weight is really nice and light and the pitch is in a decent range, then we can really start to have fun with voice and start to sound fantastic. So without further ado, I want to get my first volunteer on the stage. The way this is going to work is I'm going to ask you all to put your hands up. I'm going to choose someone at random from the crowd, and we're going to have 10 minutes. I'm going to set a 10-minute timer on my phone here. And then once that time is wrapped up, that will be us done. But we're going to try and get through as much as we can in that time. So please, if you would like to volunteer, raise your hand for me and we'll pick someone out from the crowd and we'll get started. I see quite a few of you. Cool, awesome. Meadow, you really got my eye there with your hand popping up. If you can come up on stage and if everyone can give Meadow a huge round of applause there, please. Woo! Because it's not easy coming up on stage. Can we get the hype? Woo! Awesome. Welcome, Meadow. Let me just start this timer here. Alrighty. So tell me a little bit about how voice has been recently. Are you just brand new to it? Have you been doing it a while? Tell me all about it.
I am completely new.
Awesome. Sorry, I was just taking a little bit of a sip of tea there, and I didn't want you all to get like massive tea slurping ASMR. Let me turn you up a little bit here, Meadow. Is there any way you could turn your volume up just a touch for us?
Hold on.
No problem. For those of us in the crowd that might not be able to hear, if we can just turn her up to 150%, and that should be all okay as well.
Is this better?
I can hear you. Can everyone hear her okay? Yep, great. Okay, I think we're good. Someone please raise your hand if you're having troubles hearing anything, but no worries. So being brand new to the stuff, it's an exciting time. There's a lot of stuff that we can start to do, but what I want to see is just a brief assessment, see what your voice can do already. First of all, I want to take a look at your pitch matching. We're going to go through a bunch of different pitches just to see how accurate you are. Don't worry if you're a little bit off, it's all okay. We're going to start nice and easy down here. Have a little listen to this tone and see if you can match me here with a nice ah sound. Right there. Can you try that for me, please? Beautiful. That's perfect. Next one. Right there. Good. And let's go for this one, please. It's going to be a little bit higher. Right there. Can you give that a go? Almost. Let's try scooping up to it. Can you give me like an and stop when you feel that you've locked in on the note. Give that a go for me when you're ready. Good work. Perfect. That's much better. Next one. Again, scooping up to the note when you're ready. Good work. We got a couple more. It's getting a little bit higher. Well done. Perfect. What about that one? Did you feel that one? A little bit of squeezing, a little bit of pushing to try and get the sound out there, Meadow?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a smidge. Cool. Awesome. So you could get to an A3 pretty comfortably, but the B3, it sounds like that's where we're starting to need to do a little bit of work. Again, the way that these notes work is it just goes A right through to G, and then it repeats, and every C we come along, we get another number. So it'll make sense when you got the voice tools out. But B3 is where things are starting to sound a little bit tricky. Let's go on ahead and see if we can use an SOVTE to make that a little bit easier. Now we're going to go back to that lip trill, and what I want you to do is to, first of all, I want to see how your lip trill is. Can you match me on this note with a nice old... Please, Meadow. Perfect. Good. Next one. Excellent work. Good. And your pitch matching is getting better. I think it was just down to nerves. Here's the next one. Almost. Starting to go just a smidge higher for me. Good work. Perfect. Now let's go to this one. And keep it soft, soft, soft as you can as well. Awesome work. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to keep on with that note, and then we're going to just let our lips fall open, and we're going to not change a thing inside of our throat. We're going to keep everything the same, but pull our lips apart. It's going to sound like this. Try that for me. Good work. And again. Good work. Cool. Awesome. Now we're going to try something a little bit different here. We're going to start with that exercise there. And the reason we're doing that is it helps to set us up for success. When we're not used to going up to higher notes, we often incorporate a lot of squeezing and pushing and different techniques that are kind of like training wheels to help us get to where we want to go, but we don't really want to use them. They're like little hacks that we don't want. But what we do want to do is go in with the lip trill, find that lovely, balanced, healthy, soft, and easy to access coordination, then start to read, okay? Can you see what's on the screen really nice and easy with that? The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So awesome. There's going to be a couple of different steps here. Step 1, lip trill. Step 2, and then the birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. Take a big old breath in. The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. Can you give that a go for me, please?
The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks.
That was close, but something went a little bit wrong. What happened is that initial lip trill wasn't quite on the right note. At every step of this, from the lip trill to the to the sentence, I want you to be confirming with yourself to make sure you feel like you're exactly where you need to be with regards to pitch and how comfortable the sound is. Let's get back to that lovely lip trill that you're able to get to by blending up to it once more. One more of those, please, Meadow. Good, and even softer. Take a big old breath in. Have your voice be softer and lighter in vocal weight, more like that ah rather than that ah. And here we go. Nice and soft. Good, good. Now I'm starting to find that this note is a little bit hit and missy, so we're going to take it down just a smidge, but it's no problem. Let's go to here. Try that for me, please. And again, there's the note. Good, 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 good. I felt there that we went up, and just as we hit the note, we went into the ah. try and see if you can maintain that lip trill once you've hit that note for about a second, just to make sure that you're really nice and comfy with where we are. So it's going to be... Try that for me, please. Better. Cool. Now we're going to do this one more time. We're going to go into that birch canoe again. The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. Putting it all together, Meadow. Good luck.
The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks.
Now we're getting somewhere. Awesome work. Good. I want to do that again, and I want to go to this next sentence. Glue the sheets to the dark blue background. A little bit harder. See if you can do it for me.
Glue the sheets on the dark blue background.
Well done at maintaining that fantastic vocal weight. That didn't feel squeezy. It didn't feel difficult. It felt much better than when you were just matching different pitches with this ah. This is where we want to be, where the voice is really nice and balanced, where we have enough airflow, and our vocal folds are coming together just right. And as I say, that SOVTE is a perfect way to get there. Let's keep on going. It's easy to tell the depth of a well is the next one. It's easy to tell the depth of a well. Please, when you're ready.
It's easy to tell the depth of a well.
Good job. Now the next one. These days a chicken leg is a rare dish. I want you to do all by yourself. Here is the note.
Sorry.
Try again. Close. It's okay. You never need to apologize. One more time.
These days, chicken legs are a rare dish.
That one was a little bit off, only because we went. It felt like the pitch moved a little bit when you opened your mouth. Try and make that transition from the lip trill
Tomorrow.
into the ah to be as seamless as you can. We don't want it to affect the pitch at all. One more time. Oops. These days a chicken leg is a rare dish, please.
These days, chicken eggs are a rare dish.
Good job. And that is our time. Really well done. Can everyone give Meadow a huge round of applause, please? Woo, that was awesome. We really started to get the foundational elements all in place there. You nailed it. Thank you so much.
Good job.
So before I let you go, I want to know if you've got any questions on what we just did, Meadow.
This is recorded live, like, so I can...
It is, yeah. Everything's all, yeah. Absolutely, you can. Please do. And all of these different VODs are all freely available on the
you wanna go
Trans
up
Academy VOD channel. So no problem. Thank you so much, Meadow. If you can please take your seat again. And if I can get a big old round of applause once more for Meadow, please. Woo! Really nailed it. Awesome. So, to tie back in with Scal's question earlier about how often you should be practicing, with the stage at which Meadow is at, this is where this 15-minute daily practice is a fantastic place to go. The goal is, as I say, when you're just starting out, is to start to just experiment, to start to noodle, and to start to play with your voice so that you understand what's happening when it's going wrong and what's happening when it's going right. Some of the things that we heard were the pitch not being quite accurate, but then we got better and better as Meadow's confidence really improved. I see this a lot in my students, where when people are brand new to this, the pitch matching is really good in the comfy range, up to maybe about an E3, F3. But when we start to go past that, things start to get a little bit more shaky and inaccurate. We want to make sure that all of our notes from C3 up to C4, if we can, B3 is also great, are really nice and accurate, that we can just go boom, 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 right to where we need to go without squeezing, without pushing, without increasing vocal weight or strain or anything like that. Some other things that we found as well were the need to pay attention to what we are doing. One thing that I see a lot of people fall into the trap of doing is that they get given a vocal exercise, or they find some stuff on YouTube or Reddit, and we do this thing over and over and over again, but without really paying attention to what's happening. So I've seen people be like, and just, you know, really try and make the sound as fast as they can, get through the practice, dysphoria sucks, and then done. really what we need to do is listen to ourselves, listen to how we're feeling, and have just a lot of holistic attention on what the body is doing. Am I tightening up? Am I like able to get to these notes without squeezing? Even anything from head, shoulders, knees to toe, we want to be nice and relaxed throughout this. Is my pitch staying consistent as I start to exit the SOVTE, exit the lip trill into the sound? Is my sound then consistent as I start to speak? At each of these different stages, we want to check in with ourselves. Some things to grow out of there, to keep on going and practicing, is to get that reading really nice and comfortable on anything between a G3 and an A3. Then we want to start to experiment with moving the pitch around. Your vocal weight was fantastic. Then once you feel like you've gotten the ability to be able to get up to these pitches really nice and easily and navigate them in a comfortable kind of aesthetic, then we can start to take a look at resonance and we can start to take a look at brightening the sound up. We must have the foundations of pitch and breath work and overall vocal control in place before we start looking at resonance, because what I've seen far too often is people being like, ooh, resonance, super shiny, super cool, want to do it, but the foundation isn't there. So when we start to get brighter, we get a lot of squeezing, we get an increase in vocal weight, we might get some different anomalies of the voice happening. So start small, grow it out, and begin your exploration of voice with beautiful work again. So let's get the next volunteer up on stage as well. Again, I'd like to ask you all to raise your hands, please, if you would like to come on up. And Lily, I saw you just be like, yes, like right immediately. If everyone can give Lily a big old round of applause, please. I'll try to get through as many as I can today. But woo, Lily, come on up here. Again, I'm just going to have a little sip of my tea before I start this time. There was one of these that I did a little while ago where I just absolutely like hoofed my cup of tea, and I'm so careful now not to get tea everywhere. Okay, let's start this timer. Okay, so Lily, welcome to the stage. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey with voice? Whereabouts are you in this? Are you brand new? You've been doing it for a while. Tell me all the deets.
I've been trying for a bit, but I don't really know how I'm doing because I refuse to listen to my own voice because I hate it.
It's something I hear often. I'm sorry. I know listening back sucks. Dysphoria sucks. God knows it happened to me. For me, I just did voiceless exercises, whispers for like 6 months because I was like so dysphoric. I didn't even want to try. So I know how that feels. Hopefully we can get you over where you are at the minute in a way that can feel better. What I would love for you to do, please, since you've been doing this for a little while, is just to do a little bit of reading for me in your target voice. You should see on the page there, on the screen, When the Sunlight Strikes. This is the rainbow passage. I would love for you to read from When the Sunlight all the way to Beyond the Horizon with everything that you've learned so far in place, please. When you're ready, take it away.
All right. When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colors. These take the shape of a long round arch with its path high above and its two ends apparently beyond the horizon.
Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Okie doke. So I'm hearing some good things here. I'm hearing that I think that overall your voice sounds softer than where it originally was. I feel I get the impression, without knowing how you sounded before, that things are higher and softer generally. I also feel like a little bit of resonances are taking place here too. There's a little bit of everything in the mix here, but what I really want to see is everything going up a bit of a step. With where your voice is, we are kind of in the realms where you can absolutely have a viable fem voice here, but it can be trickier. When we go down to lower pitches, we have to be really tight and really good with our weight and our resonance to make sure that everything is a really good holistic picture. So what I want to do is just to see, starting off, if we can raise your pitch a little bit, and then we'll take a look at these other elements of vocal weight and resonance too. I don't think we'll have to do too much for weight. I think you sound pretty good. So first of all, let's try and do the same thing that I was just doing with my last volunteer here to find that higher note with an SOVTE. First of all, I want to see how your lip trill is. Can you give me a nice little please? Gorgeous. No, that's great. Okay, let's try this. Can you give me a... Doing great. Good. I want to do 2 of these. One heavier and louder, and the next one softer. It's going to sound like this. Second one. Can you try that for me?
Yeah.
Good. Now soft. Ah, interesting. I felt like they were twins, that they were really close to one
Yeah.
another. Let's try again. What are you saying? What are you thinking?
I was gonna say something, but I brain not words.
Brain
So,
bad. Yeah,
yeah.
no worries. Let's try one more time. And again, before we do, can you give me a nice soft please, soft as you can.
This is the softest I can go.
Well, I heard a big increase in pitch there too. Do it when you're comfortable. Come down lower. Cool. Can you give me an nice and soft? That right there is where the vocal weight kicked back in. So here's a little something that we found.
Yeah.
And again, nice and soft once more. Give me that so soft.
It's kinda.
No worries. This is why we're here. What I want you to know is that if we have problems, it's a good thing because problems mean solutions. If we have something specific that is going wrong, we can action upon it. And it means that voice, this big miasma of stuff, becomes actionable and something that we can work on. So, when I heard your voice originally, I felt that your voice had like a lovely softness to it, but I wanted to hear a little bit more of it. But what I'm hearing now is that when you are going a little bit higher, that the squeezing comes in and we start to have a little bit more of this weight become a problem. Often two different behaviors of variables like pitch and resonance or pitch and weight can become kind of entwined and one mega variable. And we want to make sure as much as we can that each individual thing is separate as much as we can. So what I want to try and do here is see if we can go ahead and access these higher pitches, first of all with a heavy weight, and then get softer and softer and softer. Before we do that, though, I want to make sure that you're nice and comfortable with going from a heavyweight to nice and soft and soft. So let's find this pitch together. Can you match me with a nice old right there?
I think so.
Give it a go. It's okay if you're a little bit off. We all are sometimes. Beautiful. You are perfect. You nailed it. You need to be kinder to yourself and give yourself more positive feedback. You're nailing it. Okay, now let's try and go from a very buzzy into something that feels softer and lighter. We're going to go 3 different stages. Really buzzy at the start and then softer, please, Lily, when you're ready.
It's hard to modulate the soft. And also I'm trying to grab my charger from off the floor because my headset's low.
And I know that all this stuff is harder when you're on stage as well. Sometimes I've had people be like, I can't do it on stage, but I promise when I got off, I just nailed it, Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. If it helps, try looking towards the screen as well, and we'll give this one more go together, okay? Brennan, so it's you and me in the room, and again, we're going to go from, first of all, a really heavy sound. Imagine that cat is just thrown up all over you. It's terrible. Give me a nice old, please. Beautiful. Perfect. The mic's not really good, and I can find this is a thing with voice tools. It can be a bit janky sometimes. An external microphone is great. So if you've got any old earbuds that have a mic on it, perfect. It's often better than stock.
Spare mics right now.
No problem. There are a bunch of different pitch trackers that you can get online as well. I think there's one that's like Voice AM Pitch. You just type into Google like online pitch tracker. You should be able to get something that is able to visualize your pitch easily. There are some programs out there. You can also run an emulation suite with something like BlueStacks and then run voice tools within that as like an Android environment. But if you're not happy with that, as I say, take a look online. There's loads of options that are all browser-based that you don't really need to install that should be a lot more helpful for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions on this side? So if you Winteroo, hello, what's your question?
My question is, are all those exercises relevant if you don't speak English as a native language?
Sorry, can you repeat that once more? I heard the English as an active language. Can you repeat that once more? Sorry, it's a little quiet.
Are all of these exercises relevant if we don't speak English as a native language?
Yeah, absolutely. The question there, are these exercises relevant if we do not speak English? Yes, they absolutely are. Different languages will have their own unique kind of sounds, their own unique phonemes, right? Like, we don't really have in English any sort of like vowel fricatives or different vowel sounds. Vowels can be placed in lots of different ways. Like you can go e, lots of different variations. This starts to be more relevant when we start to get into things like resonance, because if we have a sound like e, 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 it'll be a little bit different than if we were to do it with more English e, and it'll be brighter. The main thing is that, yeah, the SOVTEs will be perfect. Vocal weight will still be perfect, still be very, very relevant for you. But as you begin to get into resonance work, as long as the vowel still sounds the same sort of thing, like if I think about like a really dark German o, like o, we can still keep the character of that vowel, even though we are changing our R1. So don't worry about it until you get to resonance. And then when you do, trust your ear, and that'll be able to guide you further. But all these skills are just directly transferable otherwise. No problem. Any other questions from this side of the crowd? Hello, Fake Riser. I see you back there. What's your question, please?
Hello. I was wondering what the process kind of looks like to making a fem voice your default voice, kind of.
So it really is to make your fem voice your default voice. I tend to find that if you use this voice for about 80% of your interactions for 2 months, it's very likely that it will just become your default. It's all about, even though it's really hard and it can feel like, oh my God, I'm spinning plates mentally, that I've got all this stuff going on, you must just keep using it, even though we might slip up, even though we might get some things wrong, even though we might not sound always as we want to. And this will change depending on where you're speaking. If you're in a loud environment, around people you're anxious with, etc., keep on going through with it. This is relevant when you've hit that third stage, when we kind of have the voice aesthetic done and established, and we're happy with how we're sounding, when everything is right and we're really focusing. We just want to start to do it more. A huge thing that we can do here is use the Academy to our advantage. Please do feel free to make friendships here, to talk to people in your target voice. We're all here for the same thing. I know it's scary. I remember my first time in a Discord call sounding like this. Well, it wasn't like this at the time, let me tell you. And it was terrifying. I was sweating buckets. But it gets easier. And the more that you do it, the easier it'll get. And it's all about momentum. If we start and it's hard, but we just keep on sticking with it for a week, then next week's going to be easier. And the week after that is going to be easier. If we start and then give up after a day, then try and pick it back up in a week and say, I'm going to go full time with my voice and don't stick with it, it's going to be harder. So try and see if you can stick with it as much as you can. Some other things that can help as well are having some friendships with people that only know you with this target voice. This was huge for me because I went from being like,
Rubber lad, pints, big old beard,
all this stuff. And all my friends knew me as that. And so for me to then go like, hi, hello, was just like too much of a change suddenly for them. So by talking to people online that only knew me as me and heard me only as this, it held me accountable in a subconscious way, and it enabled me just to keep on going forward with that momentum. As I say, a month or two, 80% of the voice, you should be there. Thank you so much. Any other questions from this side over here before I move on over? Lixel, hello. Oh my God, so many questions today. Lixel, hi, what's your question?
My question is, when you it happened to me that when I raise my resonance, I usually get a lot of vocal weight. It gets thick, even though I start in a thin vocal weight. What can I do to get it thinner?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So if you're finding that your vocal weight and resonance are really quite intertwined, it's good to do what we were doing earlier with vocal weight and start to go from a heavy vocal weight to a lighter vocal weight at different parts of your resonance. So if you're at a dark resonance, for example, if you go Decreasing that vocal weight, we then bring the resonance up. Sorry. If we start at a dark resonance, getting softer, then a bright resonance, and all the steps in between. You can look at your resonance on a spectrogram as well to make sure it's staying put in the same place as you transition from a heavy vocal weight to a light vocal weight. The other thing that you can do as well is go from dark to bright, allow it to get really nice and heavy, and then soften it out. So it'd be like, hello, 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 and try and see if you can keep that consistent. So break it down into steps, keep the same resonance. If you can't do that in a gradient, start off with the extremes, then build it, build it, build it until you've got control across the board where you can get as bright and as heavy, as bright and as light, as dark and as heavy, and as dark and as light as you want to be. Break it down into sounds first, then words, and build it back up is going to be a good way to do it. It's super common, by the way, I want you to know, and I also had this when I was getting started with my voice, that my vocal weight was like too heavy when I was going into bright resonances. Totally natural. I think most of us do it. But try your best to see if you can pull those two apart, and that should be good with those different exercises. Thank you for your question. I'm just going to pop over to the streams real quick, just to make sure. Is there any questions in the streams that I'll share yet?
Yes, so we got 2 questions now.
Okie doke.
Oh, all right. So the first question is from Asra, who asks, "What's a good foundation for each different variable, pitch, resonance, and vocal weight?"
That's a great question. So a foundation for pitch is for you to be able to get sustainably up to about a B3. That'd be really good without any squeezing, without any straining, without any shakiness. That's going to be really handy across all of your different SOVTEs. That's great. Really solid pitch work and a big benchmark there. With resonance, I would say that we want to be able to maintain a dark resonance, bright resonance, and something in the middle while reading. So when the sunlight strikes, when the sunlight strikes, when the sunlight strikes. Even though we want to just be at that bright resonance, I want to be able to keep it consistent at these different levels. As well, if you're at the stage where you're just trying out whisper exercises, that is a huge benchmark too. So make sure that on all these different vowels, we can go from dark to bright with our whisper. Without any squeezing, nothing like that. Without the vowel changing, we don't want anything like that. So make sure your whisper's great. Make sure you can read at dark, medium, and bright. Then for vocal weight, I really tend to find that if you can go from a light vocal weight to a heavy vocal weight at different pitches, again from C3 to B3, we're golden. Then it's all about bringing it back together. And you might find that all of a sudden, actually, my pitch really wants to change when my resonance does. My vocal weight comes in when I'm doing X. This is where you're going to have unique challenges that are specific to you. And we want to make sure that each of these different dials can be changed independently. But that's when it starts to get a little bit more specific. But those are all great places to start with benchmarks. Any other questions there, Shea? I know there's a couple other ones on the stream.
So Blackberry asks, what were the VR chat settings mentioned towards the beginning for clearness of your voice being heard by others?
Oh, sure. So this is mainly relevant when you really want to have your whisper heard and all the different noises that you make audible. It may not always be relevant for conversation, but what we have is our mic activation threshold all the way down, noise suppression off, mic output volume at 100, and push to talk is what really works best for this one here. I know that time is really short, and Alistair, I know that you may have to go, so we may have to end one of the streams here. But I want to thank you all so much for watching online. It's really been a pleasure to have you all here. I'm going to take one more question, and I'm going to have to shoot, but I'm going to go for the side because I know that I've been over here a lot. Oh, sorry, was there another one online?
One more on chat.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Okay.
Risa asks, do you have any tips for reducing smoky sound of voice at small size?
Ooh, I would have to listen to know exactly what it is that's occurring there. Smoky sound can be a few different things, and I'd need to wrap my ears around it to be definitely sure.
Perfect.
Sorry about that one. But thank you for the question. Okie doke, I've got time to take one over here, please. And Cassie, hello. What is your question, please?
Hi, my question I think is, do you have any advice for practicing while in movement? Because I find the best time that I have to practice my voice is while I'm walking to and from work.
Ooh, okay, okay. Whew, it's the same sort of thing as practicing in your car, where it's not an ideal environment. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd be sat down in a quiet room where you're safe and not scared of being heard. But if you find that, you're walking quite a lot and it's a good place to do it, I'd really pay attention to your breath. If you're going up a steep incline, might be a good time to take a break. If you're generally out of breath, we need to make sure that we've got plenty of resources in the tank to be able to sound great is a big thing. Another thing is hearing yourself. Um, it depends, because I know this can be a little bit tricky to do without feeling weird, but our voice sounds really different in our own heads than it does outside in the world. Sometimes what can help is just like cupping your hands to be able to channel the sound into your ear, and you'll get more of a realistic sound of how you sound out there in the world. Apart from that, we should be able to use our voice in different scenarios when we're running, jogging, walking. We should be able to be consistent. But what I'd say is, if that you're at a struggling point, which it doesn't sound like you are, it doesn't sound like you're at one of the early base blocks, I'd avoid, when you're really looking to get control of pitch, resonance, and weight for the first time, avoid doing it when you're walking. But the main thing is just looking at that breath, I would say. Good question. Sorry, I can't help you more on that one. Try your best to get some other time, I would say, would be the best thing. But everyone, I want to thank you all so very much. My pleasure for all coming along with me this Sunday. It's just awesome to have you all here, and it's awesome to be part of the Academy. I absolutely love you all.